Askreddit asks, what's the one Reddit post that you will never forget?
The one where the girl accidentally set her language to Spanish, so everyone just replied in Spanish to fuck with her.
Even an admin got in on it.
On my desktop all is normal. On my netbook, using Firefox, it is a taco show.
Maybe it's me, but I swear I see this exact phrasing every time this is mentioned.
And I quote, koalas are fucking horrible animals. They have one of the smallest brain-to-body ratios of any mammal. Additionally, the brains are smooth. A brain is folded to increase the surface area for neurons. If you present a koala with leaves plucked from a branch, laid on a flat surface, the koala will not recognize it as food. They are too thick to adapt their feeding behavior to cope with change. In a room full of potential food, they can literally starve to death. This is not the token of an animal that is winning at life. Speaking of stupidity and food, one of the likely reasons for the primitive brains is the fact that additionally to being poisonous, eucalyptus leaves, the only thing they eat, have almost no nutritional value. They can't afford the extra energy to think. They sleep more than 80% of their fucking lives. When they are awake all they do is eat, shit and occasionally scream like fucking Satan. Because eucalyptus leaves hold such little nutritional value, koalas have to ferment the leaves in the guts for days on end. Unlike the brains, they have the largest hindgut-to-body ratio of any mammal. Many herbivorous mammals have adaptations to cope with harsh plant life taking its toll on their teeth. Rodents, for instance, have teeth that never stop growing. Some animals only have teeth on their lower jaw, grinding plant matter on bony plates in the tops of their mouths. Others have enlarged molars that distribute the wear and break down plant matter more efficiently. Koalas are no exception. When their teeth erode down to nothing, they resolve the situation by starving to death. Because they're fucking terrible animals. Being mammals, koalas raise their joeys on milk, admittedly one of the lowest milk yields to body ratio. There's a trend here, when the young joey needs to transition from rich, nourishing substances like milk, to eucalyptus, a plant that seems to be making it abundantly clear that it doesn't want to be eaten. It finds it does not have the necessary gut flora to digest the leaves. To remedy this, the young joey begins nuzzling its mother's anus until she leaks a little diarrhea, actually fecal pap, slightly less digested, which he then proceeds to slurp on. This partially digested plant matter gives him just what he needs to start developing his digestive system. Of course, he may not even have needed to bother nuzzling his mother. She may have been suffering from incontinence. Why? Because koalas are riddled with chlamydia. In some areas the infection rate is 80% or higher. This statistic isn't helped by the fact that one of the few other activities koalas will spend their precious energy on is rape. Despite being seasonal breeders, males seem to either not know or care, and will simply overpower a female regardless of whether she is ovulating. If she fights back, he may drag them both out of the tree. Which brings us full circle back to the brain. Koalas have a higher than average quantity of cerebrospinal fluid in the brains. This is to protect the brains from injury, should they fall from a tree. An animal so thick it has its own little built-in special ed helmet. I fucking hate them. TLDR, koalas are stupid, leaky, STI-riddled sex offenders. But, hey, they look cute, if you ignore the terrifying snake eyes and terrifying feet. Edit. Well, it looks like this went from Comedy Minute to Comedy Night judging by how it blew up. Also, thank you for the gold kind stranger. Best cake day gift someone could anonymously receive.
The one where someone was having a mental health episode, and posted that doctors planted a tracker in his arm. As a result, he hadn't left the house and had run out of food days before. The whole damn thread gently coaxed him into going to the Wow, I'm surprised at how friendly the posters were towards him.
Everyone handled that really well. They took him seriously while explaining it wasn't possible and urging him to go to the
Lane.
My favorite one is probably the guy who posted in TIFU about his adopted son, who he had raised with heavy influence from his native Chinese culture. Visits to China and regular Chinese lessons and everything. Turns out the kid was actually Korean. Edit. It's since been deleted. Here's the story, updated, URL redacted, best of comments, 2kp75l, well underscore meaning underscore husband underscore and underscore wife underscore try underscore to underscore raise underscore their cop 8bqo, though here's the original, URL redacted post, the story has been deleted but the comments are still there.
The post where some guy revealed that he'd been sitting on the rim to shit his entire life because he thought toilet seats were meant for women. I had to teach my college roommate to not do that. I potty trained a fucking 22-year-old man. Edit. A space.
A story someone posted about a nasty waitress they had. Not just bad service, but actually rude as well. The table was angry and decided not to leave a tip. But the posters said no. We should leave a tip. We're not having a bad night. We don't have a problem. So why wouldn't we tip? They tipped especially well, and left a note saying they hoped her night got better. They saw her go by the table before they'd walked out. She opened the booklet, then sat down in the booth and started crying.
Tips from tables broke me a couple times when I waited tables. It's the only positive reinforcement you get when you're not working at a good place.
Fuck. Right in the feels, man. Edit a comma and added a word.
That one where that lad was in love with his friend for years and they done that if we're both not married by this age we'll marry each other thing and the lass ended up getting killed in a car crash just after they got together. It messed him up so bad. Don't think I'll ever forget that post. Edit. Wow. Just woke up and did not expect this. Reading through all your comments now about your stories and I'm overwhelmed. This is a devastating story but there's so much you can take from this. First of all, don't fucking drink and drive. Cannot stress that enough. Thank you. I know it's cliche but you're not on this planet for long enough. Tell your family, lovers and friends that you love them. All the time. Never stop that. I lost my uncle and I tell you what, there's no worse feeling than being awake at 4 a.m. wishing you had.
Man, I remember that one. Got a link? Edit. I wake up and find the mirror. Proceed to be sad for the rest of the week. Fuck.
The story about the guy who got into a fight and while he was knocked unconscious he said he lived a whole 10-year life. He only realized he was living a dream because a lamp looked distorted. He eventually woke up and was saddened by the loss of his family.
Wasn't that a Star Trek Next Generation episode, in which Jean-Luc lived a lifetime in an instant?
That time when you, Kakerlak, saved a fellow Redditor from CO poisoning.
Link to the URL redacted legal advice comments 34L7vo mar underscore post-it underscore notes underscore left underscore in underscore apartment that you, Kakerlak, posted the life-saving advice in.
Meanwhile, on 4chan, URL redacted 4chan comments 73sfx free anon underscore gases underscore himself.
Op did nothing wrong.
The guy who thought it was funny that he peed on his girlfriend's pregnancy test and that he turned out to be URL redacted FFFFFFFFU comments 12KIHX pregnant underscore man underscore rage. As per as an astute Redditor, it actually turned out that he had testicular cancer. In a follow-up post, he got checked out, had a small tumor and as it was very early stages had it treated, URL redacted, OG 492. From an Fu comic to cancer-saving treatment. Now that's a post I won't forget.
There was a guy who worked at a shipping dock in China and he was a supervisor. Every time a crate was unloaded off the boat it had to be evaluated by someone and then radioed back to him. The guy who was doing the checking didn't radio back, so op sent another guy to check what the hold up is. Guy goes over. Then his radio goes dark. So the op does an emergency shutdown of the factory. Goes over himself and looks over from afar and sees the two guys dead on the ground. Apparently heavier than air inert gases were leaking from one of the crates and immediately suffocated the two guys. It's one of those instances where reality can be just as terrifying as a horror movie. URL redacted.
And then he got fired because while he saved lives in shutting down a busy port in the middle of giant chemical hazard, he did it by overstepping his authority.
The TIFU about the guy that gets high on mushrooms while his wife is asleep and ends up almost crying because he loses track of how many cats he has. I laugh every time I read it.
Link, thank YOU for this. I'm dead now. I died when he told his wife he could only count to 4.
The woman who posted about loving her husband so much. She stayed with him even after realizing she wasn't bisexual, but a lesbian. Her husband helped her realize it, pointing out that she only commented about women when they were out together. But he was her best friend and they had made a family together and she chose to stay where she was happy. From what I remember, they still had a sex life and he did his best to make her happy in the bedroom. I just thought the idea of such a love as that was really beautiful. A love so profound that it defies all barriers, including sexual orientation.
The guy who wanted to walk in on his female roommate masturbating. He apparently finally did it and said, "It went okay. Oh, I remember that." So presumably by okay, he meant that she was cool with it, but the whole thing was super awkward and they soon parted ways, leaving him with the torment of what could have been if he wasn't such a smear.
There was this one guy who posted a comment on an Askreddit thread that told a story about how he ate Taco Bell and got the shits and he was in a parking garage and he shat and his shit ran down the stairs and onto multiple innocent civilians and it was on the news that night. Edit. What the fuck? Thanks edit 2. This is the original comment. URL redacted.
Innocent civilians, you say that as if it could have been military, or are you saying eating Taco Bell makes weaponized shits? Edit. Gold for this? I'm crying laughing. Thanks kind stranger.
The sex spreadsheet 1. A woman wrote a post about how her husband made a spreadsheet documenting all the times she refused to have sex with him. The story made the national news. That's how I found Reddit.
Here ya, URL redacted, funny, comments, 2 bam up, husband _ makes _ spreadsheet _ of _ wife's _ sexual.
URL redacted, a guy trying to find a particularly obscure song and an anonymous person finds it. The response to op thanking him was great.
SSHBBY is okay.
Is that the origin of shush BBY is okay?
The dude that tried throwing a steak that his wife's boss cooked out a window. Window was closed.
That was one of the funniest tifus I've ever read. Here's the URL redacted tifu comments. Free im 341 tifu _ by _ throwing _ my _ steak _ out _ window for anyone that wants to read it.
I enjoyed that there were 2 TIFU to this from both sides. Great reads.
I'm still waiting for the TIFU from the boss. What to do when you win the lottery. URL redacted.
Best advice none of us can ever use. The example he gives for America going to shit is that Britney Spears was elected to the Senate.
My favorite Reddit story of all time. The poster's friend was apparently pretty vanilla, but his girlfriend liked some dirty talk. The best he could come up with was, yeah, you like that. You fucking, URL redacted, Askreddit comments 1y6lhe, what _ is _ the _ worst _ thing _ someone _ has _ said _ to _ you, CFHTEDQ.
I told this story to some guys at work. They still make fun of me for it since it took me about 10 attempts to say it without hyperventilating.
Yeah, you like THAHAHAHAHAHA. Sorry, 1 second.
Someone made an Askreddit, and they had clearly been pushed to the limit with a grasshopper that had gotten behind some cabinets and wouldn't shut up. At my house, we were having the exact same situation. So I laughed and thought I'd look at the comments to see a solution that I could also use. Someone had responded with something along the lines of, "It's really easy, you just need to get a bowl on the ground. 1/3 water and 1/3 maple syrup, or something sticky. And just leaves it." The follow-up comment was, "What is other third? Air! Exclamation mark. Quote question mark. My wife and I got a case of the giggles at that and I legitimately laughed on and off for 30 minutes and couldn't contain myself. To this day, whenever my wife is helping me with ingredients I shoot off, "What's the other third?" Air. Quote, question mark. And it begins again. Edit. I meant cricket, not grasshopper. Thanks for pointing that out. Additionally, people asked if it worked. You can try for yourself if you get a shallow cup or a bowl. Put 1/3 water and the other third liquid detergent. And see if you catch M.
The one about the kid who went to dinner with his girlfriend's parents. Tried to be funny and pretended he hadn't ever heard of a potato. Her father then got really pissed off and I believe he kicked him out of the URL redacted. R Tifu comments 2TD big Tifu _by_ enraging _the _parents _of _my _girlfriend _by.
I just laughed uncontrollably. I don't know why I found this as amusing as I did. But thank you. I just wish there was an update.
Let me tell you.
There was a response to a post, I think it was a Mallard meme, about getting out of someone's way when they're speeding. You're not the police and you should just worry about yourself and let them get their ticket. Someone gave a story about a buddy of theirs that died because of that. They were on a crew chopping down trees when the buddy got horribly injured by the chainsaw. They were too far away from civilization to wait for the ambulance. So they stayed on the phone with the emergency line and sped out onto the highway to meet M's halfway. Except some bitch wouldn't just let him pass. So for 10 to 15 miles, they were stuck behind her, honking and yelling while she just stayed right in front of them and slowed them down by at least 10 minutes. They ultimately passed her and threw a bloody shirt at her car. So she followed them until they met up with police and M's. Thinking she was going to be the savior of the day, she tries to tell the cops what they did, but ends up getting cited or arrested for trying to police their speed. In the meantime, the body gets loaded into the ambulance and taken to the hospital, but ends up dying 5 to 10 minutes out from the hospital. The guy telling the story wasn't 100% sure that his friend would have survived had he made it. But he would have had a better chance, and they lost that chance because some bitch tried to make them slow down instead of just minding her business, getting out of the way for 30 seconds, and going on with her day. Ever since I read that, I always get out of the way of a speeding car as soon as I safely can. If there's an emergency, I won't be the one to hold them up. If there's not, then they're welcome to go get their ticket even faster.
Today you. Tomorrow, URL redacted. R, Askreddit comments, LL2, have _you _ever _picked _up _ hitchhiker, C18Z0Z2.
The poorest people are so very often the most generous. They know what it means to truly struggle.
The sailor who told the story about how the operations officer changed the course of a naval vessel so he could eat his bagel in peace. Link URL redacted. R Askreddit comments 1RG PDF. What _ is _ the laziest _ thing you've ever done. CDNAFQE. Also the guy who plays Goofy at Disney World making some girls smile. Link URL redacted. R RAMA comments 5H7GQ8. I was _Goofy _ at _ Walt _ Disney _ World _ for _ over 20 per days 38 foo. I searched this whole post in hopes of finding this story about these two poor kids. If you haven't read the post, I highly recommend it. Have tissues handy though.
The sailor one is one of my all-time favorites.
The bridge story. URL redacted. Basically as a kid, guy and his friends enter a cement bridge and see some really creepy and disturbing shit, then re-enters it years later as an adult and sees more disturbing shit.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and above all, have an excellent day you wonderful people.